Hello, 8th graders. Today we're working on lesson 5 of module 4 for 8th grade. This problem set has 6 problems. We are only going to be doing 1 through 5 because of time. So therefore, do not worry about doing number 6. So let's go to our first problem. This is all going to be writing and solving equations, and these are all going to be writing and solving equations in terms of geometry. So our first question says that the measure of one angle is 13 less than 5 times, 13 less than 5 times the measure of another angle. Okay, and then it says the sum means to add, right, of the measures of the two angles is 140 degrees. First, let's determine what x is going to be. What is it that we don't know right now? We're trying to figure out the measure of each angle. But right now, we don't know the measure of this angle. So that would be the easiest one to call x. This is a number that we don't know. So our first angle is 13 less than 5 times this. Less than is a turnaround phrase, right? So it's going to be subtracting 13 5 times this measurement. 5 times the measure of an angle we're calling x. So 5 times this angle x. 5 times x. So how do we do 5 times x? 5 times x. And we want 13 less than that. Okay, so that's our first angle. We have to add that to our second angle, which is just x. And that is going to give us the sum, or is going to equal 140 degrees. Okay. So now we can start to solve this. The first thing we're going to want to do is combine our like terms. Remember, this is, we can have a 5x and an x, so that is going to give us 6x, right? Minus 13 equals 140. Now, let's subtract 13 from both sides. I'm sorry, we need to add 13. We have a subtracting 13 here. To get rid of subtracting, we got to add 13 to both sides. So we will get 6x plus 0, and 6x plus 0 is just 6x, equals 140 plus 13 is 153 degrees. Now we have multiplication here. To get rid of multiplying, we divide. 6 divided by 6 is 1. We have 1x. We're going to keep that 1 invisible, and x is going to be 153 divided by 6. Six goes into 15 twice. That would be 12. 3, bring down this 3. 6 goes into 33 5 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Oh, we can add a decimal and a 0, bring that down. And 6 goes into 30 again 5 times. And we have no remainder. So x is going to be 25.5. Awesome. We found out what x is. But does that answer our question? Remember, the question says, determine the measure of each angle in degrees. Determine the measure of each angle in degrees. We haven't done that. Let's start with angle 1. Angle 1, I'll write this down here. Our angle 1 is 5x minus 13. 5x minus 13 And we have to take our 25.5 and put it in for x. So 5 times 25.5 minus 13. 5 times 25.5 is 127.5. You can use a calculator if you need to. Minus 13. And then we're going to subtract this, and we're going to get 114.5. So this is our measurement of angle 1. Angle 2 was just x, right? And we know what x is 25.5, so angle 2 is 25.5. To check this, the problem said that when the two measurements of the two angles is 140 degrees. Let's make sure angle 1 plus angle 2 is 140 degrees. 114.5 and 25.5, we add those together. Bring down the decimal and we get our 140. So it all works out. Let's go on to problem number 2. An angle measures 17 more than 3 times a number. It's supplement. Ooh. What does supplement mean? Supplements are angles that add up to 180 degrees. So if they're supplements or if they're supplemental, when you add them together, you're going to equal 180 degrees. So its supplement, or the next number, is 3 more than 7 times the number. 3 more than 7 times that number. Do we know what that number is? You have 17 more than 3 times the number and 3 more than 7 times that number. But do we know what that number is? No. So x is going to be the number. Let's make x the number. Okay. So let's have 17 more than is turnaround, right? 3 times that number. So 3 times our number x would be 3x. 17 more. It's our first one. They're supplementals, so we have to add them to get 180, right? So we're going to add 3 more than, once again, a turnaround phrase. 3 more than 7 times the number. 7 times the number. What are we calling that number? X. 7 times the number, so 7x. But we want 3 more than that. 3 more than 7 times x. So we're going to have to add 3. And this is all going to have to equal 180. They're supplemental, so they have to add up to 180 degrees. So there's our problem we have to solve. So first thing we're going to do is combine our like terms. We have 3x and 7x. That's going to give us 10x. And then we have positive 17 and a positive 3, so that's going to give us a positive 20. And this all equals 180 degrees. Okay, so now let's take away, because we have the plus 20, so let's take away 20 on both sides. And we're going to end up with 10x plus 0, or just 10x, equals 180 minus 20 is 160. Now we need to divide by 10. This is 10 times x, 10x, so we need to divide by 10. And we get 10 divided by 10 is 1x. I'm going to make that 1 invisible. So just say x equals 16 divided by 10. We can cross out those zeros and we get 16. So x is 16. Does that answer our question? Remember, our question said, what is the measure of each angle? And that tells us what x is, but we need to know the measurement of each angle. So let's come over here. Let's work on angle 1. Angle 1 is 3x plus 17. I take my x of 16 and put it in there. 3 times 16 plus 17. 3 times 16 is 48 plus 17. 48 plus 17 is 65. So angle 1 is 65 degrees. Let's look at angle 2. Angle 2. Our equation for angle 2 was 7x plus 3. So 7x plus 3, we got to take our 16 and put it in for x. So 7 times 16 plus 3. Remember, if you need to, you can pause and get your calculator out. 7 times 16 is 112 plus 3 is 115 degrees. So for our answer, what is the measure of each angle in degrees? Angle 1 is 65 degrees. Angle 2 is 115 degrees. To prove we're correct, these two have to be supplemental. So these two have to equal 180 degrees. So is 65 plus 115, 180. Yes, it is. So we are correct. Let's go on to problem number 3. So first we got to kind of figure out what we're going to use for x. So let's figure out what x is going to equal. The angle of a triangle described as follows. A is the largest angle and it measures twice the measure of B. So we have twice the measure of B. A is twice the measure of B. And we have C is 2 less than half the measure of B. Do we know what B is? So can we make x B? X is going to be angle B. Okay? So let's look at A. A is twice the measure of B. And the measure of B we marked as x, right? So twice the measure of B, or twice x, so that would be 2x. Okay? And then we have C is 2 less than half of B. So B is x, right? So 2 less than's a turnaround phrase. Less than's a turnaround phrase. Half of B. So how do we get, remember, angle B we're calling x. How do we get half of x? 1/2 x, and we want 2 less than that. Okay? Now, find the measure of the 3 angles in degrees. Oh boy, it doesn't give us any numbers here. Think of our triangle angle sum theorem. Our triangle angle sum theorem is going to tell us that angle A plus angle B plus angle C is going to equal 180 degrees, right? So we have 2x is angle A plus angle B we're calling x plus angle C, we're calling 1/2 x minus 2, and this all should equal 180 degrees because of our triangle angle sum theorem. Angle A plus angle B plus angle C should equal 180 degrees. Now let's combine our like terms. We have 2x plus x plus half of x to 3.5x, right? So we have 3 and 1/2 x. Then we have the minus 2 equals 180 degrees. Well, let's subtract. We have the subtracting 2, right? So let's add 2 to both sides. And we get 1/3 x. I'm sorry, 3 and 1/2 x equals 182. Well, now this is multiplying. To get rid of multiplying, we need to divide. We have a fraction. We're dividing by a fraction. How do we divide by a fraction? We have to multiply by the reciprocal. But in order to get a reciprocal, this has to be an improper fraction. So we change this to an improper fraction. Take this mixed number, change it to an improper fraction. So remember, we go 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So 7/2 x equals 182. And then to divide by a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. We got to do that on both sides. These cancel, we get x equals, we got to make 182 as a fraction, right? So 182 times 2 over 7 times, this is multiply across, right? So this is going to be 364. 1 times 7 is 7. 182 times 2 is 364. 1 times 7 is 7. 364 divided by 7. Let me come over here and do this. 7 goes into 36 5 times. That's 35. Subtract. Goes into that twice. So x is going to be 52. But they want us to find the measure of the 3 angles. Remember, they said find the measure of the 3 angles. We found x is 52. We don't have the measure of our 3 angles. So let's come back up here. Angle A is 2x, which means x is 52, right? So angle A is going to equal 2 times 52. So angle A is going to be 104 degrees. Angle B is x, right? Right, we said angle B is x. So angle B is just going to be x, and we found x to be 52. So angle B is going to equal 52 degrees. And angle C is 1/2 x minus 2. Remember, x is 52, right? X is 52, so we have 1/2 times 52 minus 2. Half of 52 is 26 minus 2, so angle C is going to be 24 degrees. If we want to prove we're correct, angle A plus angle B plus angle C should equal 180 degrees. So let's check that out. Angle A is 104. Angle B is 52. And angle C is 24. When we add these up, and we get 180 degrees. So once again, we are correct. Let's go on to problem number 4. We have a pair of corresponding angles. Oh boy, what does corresponding angles mean? Corresponding angles are angles in the same place of different intersections. And remember, we know that corresponding angles are congruent. Okay. They're going to be congruent. Okay. The measure of one angle is 5 less than 7 times a number. Well, that's only if they're by parallel lines. So I guess we're deciding if these are parallel lines. So first we have 5 less than 7 times a number. 5 less than 7 times a number. 7 times a number minus 5. And the other one is 8 more than 7 times a number. 7 times a number plus 8. Are these congruent? Do these equal the same amount? Kind of looking at it, we can say no. If I start with 7x, here I subtract 5 from it, and here I add 8 to it, how's it ever going to be? If I start at the same point, how can subtracting 5 and adding us 8 get us to the same point? So no, although they're corresponding, they are not congruent. Therefore, lines not parallel. That goes way back to Module 2. Our last problem of this problem set. Once again, this is one of those we've got to find the measure of each angle in degrees. Okay. It tells us that the sum is 195 degrees. Sum means to add. So when we add, we're going to get 195 degrees. Right? So the measure of one angle is 11 more than 4 times the number. Turnaround phrase, 4 times the number. Do we know that number? Can we call that number x? Okay, x is a number. So 11 more than 4 times the number. 4 times the number would be 4x. And 11 more. Another angle is twice the first angle's measurement. Twice the first angle's. So I'm going to take this whole amount and multiply it by 2. So it's going to be 2 times the sum of 4x plus 11. That's going to all equal 180 degrees. Well, we're going to have to start with the distributive property here. We're going to have to distribute this 2 out. So we're going to get 4x plus 11 plus 8x plus 22 equals 195 degrees. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times 11 is the 22. Now let's combine our like terms. 4x and a positive 8x gives us 12x. And a positive 11 and a positive 22 gives us 33. And that's all going to equal 195 degrees. So let's take away our 33, right? We have a positive 33, so we're going to do a negative 33 on both sides. So we get 12x plus 0, which is just going to be 12x. 195 minus 33 is going to be 162. Now we're going to divide by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1x. We're going to make that 1 invisible, make this x. And 162 divided by 12. 12 goes into 16 once. Bring down the 2. 12 goes into that 3 times, which is 36. We have 6. Bring down add our decimal, bring down a 0. Kick the decimal up here. 12 goes into 60 5 times. So x is 13.5. Although x is 13.5, it's not giving us the measure of each of the angles. It's just telling us what x is. So let's go back and figure out what each angle is. Let's work on angle 1. Angle 1 we said was 4x plus 11. X is going to be our 13.5. So we got to put that there, right? So we have 4 times 13.5 plus 11. This would be 54 plus 11, which would be 65 degrees. So angle 1 is 65 degrees. Angle 2, remember they told us angle 2 was 2 times that? So we had to do 2 times the 4x plus 11. Well, we know that the 4x plus 11 is 65, so angle 2 is going to be 2 times that 65, which is 130 degrees. So angle 2 is going to be 130 degrees. To check our answers are correct, remember it said when we added the measures, their sum was 195. So let's go 130 plus the 65, and we get 195. So once again, we are correct. Have a great day.